Lovely. So starting standing, and as always, just start to connect into the body. So particularly when we're not coming to a different space, when we're having a session, it can be really helpful just to spend a little bit of time reconnecting into, okay, this body, this is the feedback that I'm getting. And a really good way that I find is to connect in with the feet. So we start to warm up into the backs of the legs. And by warming up into the backs of the legs, that starts to travel up into the whole of the back line of the body. And this movement is really good for ankle mobility as well, which often gets a little bit neglected, particularly it's quite a weak spot with a lot of sports that we might do as well. We're reliant on our ankles a lot, whether that is running, cycling, football, any kind of running around where you're having to change direction. We need a lot of ankle strength and mobility. So generally, it's not a bad thing to start the day doing, moving into this. And then we're going to start to rise up onto the balls of the feet and then start to squat down. So sinking back, and now come a point where you can't sink any further back until you start to stick your bum out. And that's kind of your range. So reaching up high and then easing back. So this is coming into, so pointing into the toes, that's one range of mobility in the ankles, and then sitting back, that's that back line of mobility. So it's quite a good movement. Often, well, in kettlebells, we'd be doing a lot of this, wouldn't we? Dorsiflexion, going back into squats and that sort of thing. But again, quite a good way to build up that awareness into the body early into the day. Lovely. And then from here, bringing the left foot behind as we reach the left arm over, so side reaching into the side of the body. And then shifting through to the other side, doing a few on each side. Lovely. And then tucking the chin into the chest, we're going to roll through the spine. Choose whether you want to come straight down or whether you want to just gently shift side to side. So if we've got any aches or twinges, sometimes shifting side to side can be really helpful just to edge into mobility on any side that might be a little bit stiff. Often when we're in discomfort, we kind of, without even realizing it, ease away from that side, and then we start to create a bit of a bias in the body. So just gently rolling through, almost kind of a little bit of a shimmy, just helps to edge into that movement without kind of forcing anything. Lovely. We're going to do one last one, rolling back down. And then this time we're going to make our way all the way down to lying on the back. So sit bones down, rolling back down with as much or as little control as you wish. Head comes down onto the ground. Take a moment to connect into the shoulders, into the hips. Let the head catch up with where the body's got to. We're going to interlace the hands and bring the head to rest underneath onto the hands. Take a breath in here, and on the out breath, elbows together, chin to the chest. So we're lifting the head, we're not lifting the shoulders, not doing a crunch. We're just mobilizing into the back of the neck. Just a few here. Chin to the chest on the out breath, breathing in, the elbows come wide. Lovely. And then releasing the hands to wherever is comfortable. Bring the feet wide, so about mat distance apart, and then drop the knees to one side, gently rolling over to the other. So we're starting to mobilize into the hips, into the fronts of the thighs, into the lower back. This whole kind of spaghetti junction area, all hinged around the hips. Lovely. When we've done the same amount on both sides, feet coming in towards the sit bones, we're going to arch into the lower back only. The rest of the back stays down as if we want to slide a hand under. And on the out breath, flattening the lower back, breathing into arch. Exhale to flatten. A few more breaths there, just shifting through. And then the next time that we inhale, we arch. Exhale to flatten. Keep that tuck as we press down into the feet to lift the hips up. And then placing every single vertebra down one at a time. Inhale at the bottom to arch, exhale to flatten, scooping the belly up. Lovely. So we're starting to explore the idea of spinal articulation here, the vertebra along the back of the body moving independently. And use the earth as feedback, so we can start to almost massage the back into the body as we place it back down. Lovely. Make this one the last one, no rush. Both legs lengthen, both arms above the head, reaching the right arm away from the right foot and the left arm away from the left foot, and then shifting through. So notice as we reach from one side and then shifting into the other, maybe notice that the hips start to zigzag a little bit here. So let that happen. Lovely. From here, knees into the chest, flattening the lower back on the out breath as we draw the knees into the chest, and then breathing in to bring the knees slightly further away. So we're keeping the hands on top. So as we connect the knees in towards the chest and then bringing them away, notice again that little ripple effect into the lower back. Lovely. And from here, we can bring the knees to the side and press up to seating, or we can do a little bit of rocking and rolling as we start to use the ground to massage the whole way along the back of the body. And this is where we really want to be exaggerating that rounding movement. Lovely, really nice, guys. When you're ready, soles of the feet onto the floor, breathing in to lift up. We're going to turn the ribs first and then the hands come down. Lovely. Breathing in to lift up, ribs turn first and then the hands come down. Doing a few more of these, so starting to explore again spinal rotation this time, easing through side to side. We'll do one last one on each side. Start to explore that idea of the body spiraling side to side. And then we bring the right hand down, press down into that right arm to get the left ribs towards the sky. And we'll do the same on the other side. So rather than trying to come down as far as we can, we're pressing up. Lovely. And when we've done the same amount on both sides, making our way to all fours. So knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. Spread the hands wide. We can start to shift through side to side here. Maybe forwards and backwards. Maybe start to circle around. Lovely. And then we'll come to stillness. We're going to tuck the tailbone only. So scooping up the belly, point the tailbone down, and then start to lift the tailbone only. So it's a really, really small movement, almost kind of reprogramming here, because a lot of what we do starts to become these big, expansive movements. Seeing if we can bring that awareness just into the lower back, lifting tailbone only, tucking tailbone only. Lovely. Scooping the belly up and then down, and then let that movement travel. So we tuck the tailbone and then let that travel into the mid back, in between the shoulders as the head comes down. And let's reverse that. So the head comes back to neutral, shoulders come back, mid back comes down, and then we release the belly down and the tailbone lifts. Lovely. So we're traveling rather than kind of doing these big expansive movements, rippling, seeing if we can really notice that movement. And that movement follows the breath. Lovely. So from here, we're going to lift that right leg up, right heel coming up towards the sky, and we start to pulse here. Lovely. So pressing that right foot up to the sky. And then we're going to bring that right knee behind the left, coming to tap. Lovely. And then circling that right knee all the way out to the side. Lovely. Until that right foot comes back up. So a few pulses there. Right knee behind the left knee, tapping. Lovely. And then start to circle all the way out to the side. And we'll all have slightly different shapes happening here. Different range of motion, different range of mobility. So doing a few pulses, tapping the right knee behind the left, and then circling all the way out. Lovely. Really nice, guys. We'll do one more. So pulsing a few times. Knee tucking behind, and then circling all the way out. Lovely. So from here we can lengthen that leg, and we can start to pulse right foot back. Lovely. Right foot taps behind. Lovely. And then we can send that leg all the way out to the side. Lovely, guys. So pulsing at the back, tapping behind, and then circling
as far as is comfortable, ideally with the legs straight. Lovely. Last one, pulsing here, tapping the foot behind, and then circling all the way out. Oh, hello, outer hips. Good morning. Lovely. So knees come wide, toes come together, and we can ease the sit bones back, coming into a child's pose. Really nice. And then we bring the right hand to the right, left hand travels over, side reach into the left side of the body, and we can do the same on the other side. So right arm comes over. Lovely. And from here, bring the knees together, sit bones back to the heels, and the elbows come into contact with the knees. Lovely. We're going round between the shoulder blades, head tucks down, breathing in to draw the heart through. So it's almost like a cat-cow, but keeping the sit bones back. So by doing that, we start to move only into the ribs, the shoulders, and the chest, rather than sending that movement down into the hips. So just exploring mobility here. Lovely. We're going to make our way back up into all fours. So lifting the left foot this time, coming into that pulse. Lovely, guys. And then start to bring that left knee to tuck behind the right. And then sending that left knee to circle all the way up. Lovely, pulsing, tucking to the right side, and then circling out and round. Really nice. So carrying on there, pulsing, crossing over, and then circling out to the side. Lovely. We'll do one more there, pulsing, crossing, and then circling out to the side. And then start to lengthen that left leg behind. So the left heel now pulses. We're going to cross that foot over to tap over to the side. And then we're going to circle out and round. Lovely. So left heel comes behind, tapping it behind us, and then circling out and round. Lovely. Let's do a few more there, 2 more there. Tapping to the side, circling all the way out and round. And we'll do last one. Tapping to the side, all the way out and around. Lovely, guys. So from here, tucking the toes under, lifting up into downward facing dog, sit bones to the sky, walk the hands in a little bit closer. So the hands come towards the feet. So we're coming into a really short downward facing dog. We can bend the knees here and start to really get length along the back of the body. Maybe rising up onto the fingertips. So we start to feel the sides of the ribs start to engage. Lovely. And then we can start to roll all the way up to standing. Lovely. Maybe that little shimmy may be coming straight up. You choose. Lovely. And then from here, making our way to the top of the mat, we'll move through some warm-ups. So breathing in, arms come high. And on the out breath, we fold. Inhaling to lift halfway, gaze down to the floor, hands down, feet back, coming into our first plank. We can lift right leg, tapping right foot out to the side, and then the same with the left, so tapping left foot out to the side. Doing one more on each side, seeing if we can keep the hips level here, and then scoop up through the belly to press into downward facing dog. We can pedal through the legs, we can shift side to side, we can come forwards, backwards, wherever you want to be here. And then when you're ready, we can step walk or maybe jump to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back, hands to the shins, or maybe to the fingertips. On the out breath, we fold. Press down into the feet, keep the knees soft as we come high. Lovely, and then hands to the side. Let's do a few more there, breathing into lift. Exhaling, swan dive the body down, forward fold. Inhaling to lift halfway. Hands down, feet back. This time it's the left leg that steps out to the side, and then left leg through, and the right leg out to the side, and then through. Lovely. Doing one more on each side. Seeing if as we move, nothing else shifts, and then we scoop up through the belly into our downward facing dog. We can shake the head no, we can nod the head yes. We can pedal through the legs. We can start to bring the weight forwards into plank and then back into downward dog if you want to. So choosing where feels good for you. You know how you've slept, what your day's been like. You know what's brought you to the mat this morning. Lovely. So options to explore. This time we can step, walk or jump to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back and breathe out to fold. Press down into the feet, lifting tall, hands by the side, lovely. Bending into the knees, coming into our lovely comfy chair, lovely. Notice what's happened to the lower back. Are we starting to stick the bum out or scoop it under? See if we can find that midpoint where we're not overly doing either. And then we can bring the hands down. I'm going to step the left foot back, left knee down, left hand down, as the right arm circles towards the back and then circles forwards. Lovely. We'll do the same on the other side. So right hand down, left arm lift, circling round, and then coming back in line. We'll do the same. One more on each side. Lovely, guys. Really nice. And then hands down, feet back into plank. Lovely. We're going to step out to the side. Just a little tap on each side, seeing if we can keep everything else where it is. And then scoop up through the belly into downward facing dog. The right leg lifts, left knee down, right foot steps through. Instead of coming into a lunge, kind of stretching into this left leg, rising up tall and scooping the tailbone down. So you get that same stretch into the front of the left calf. Lovely. Hands reaching up. We're going to twist to one side, all the way through center as we twist to the other. Lovely. We can bring the left hand to the hip, side reaching to the right. Right hand to the hip, side reaching to the left. Lovely. Option for another round with the back knee lifted if we want to turn it into a balance. Lovely. Hands down, feet back. Coming back into our plank. Toe tapping. Sneaky little toe tap on each side. And then we can come into downward facing dog. And remember, if at any point you need to come into a resting pose, whether that's child's pose or kneeling or coming to lie on the belly, then go for it. Always an option, so listen to where you need to be. And when you're ready, we're going to step, walk, jump or shimmy to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Bend into the knees, arms parallel to the ears. Lovely, coming back into our chair pose. And then hands through the midline, really nice. Let's do one more, this time on the other side. So, chair pose, lovely. Hands come down, this time the right foot steps back, right knee down, and it's the left arm that starts to face towards the back of the mat, and then forwards. And then we'll do the same with the right arm. And the right arm comes forwards. We'll do one more on each side. Really nice, guys. Hands come down, stepping back into plank, tapping out to the side. Seeing if we can keep everything else where it is. Lovely. And then zip up through the belly to come into downward facing dog. This time left leg is up, right knee down, left foot steps through, and we rise. Again, look for that scooping, so that tilting forward, so we feel that front of that right thigh engage. Arms up as we twist, breathing in and breathing out. Hand to the hip as we side reach, and then shifting through to the other side. And there's the option to turn it into a balance for the second round here. Lovely. Hands coming down, stepping back into plank. Option to do toe taps or to go straight into downward facing dog. We choose. Lovely. And then finding our way into downward facing dog. So from here, again, we can find that pedaling out into the legs. We can shift between plank and downward dog if we feel like it. Or we can come into child's pose or any other resting posture. When you're ready, stepping, walking, jumping to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Bend into the knees, arms parallel to the ears. Going back through to standing. Really nice. So we're going to tuck the chin in. Remember to take water as well. It's always an option. So we're going to move through into our stability now. So chin tucks into the chest. Rolling through the spine. Again, option to shimmy. As we ease down, release into gravity. And we come to lying on the back. Lovely. So, bringing hands onto the shoulders. Start to find that arch into the lower back and then exhale to flatten. Inhaling to arch. Exhale to flatten. Exactly the same as our bridge. Lovely. And then exhale to flatten. See if we can keep that connection with the tailbone down, lower back in contact with the mat. And then firing up into the midline. So breathing in, softening into the belly. And exhaling, forcing the breath out, slamming on the abdominal wall. And we can check into the sides of the waist to see if they're engaged. So let's do another one there. Breathing in to soften. Exhaling, forcing the breath out. We should still be able to breathe with all of this fired up. Lovely. So from here, hands onto the shoulders, and we're going to lift the shoulder blades away and then coming down. So nothing else is moving. Shoulder blades lift. And a really good test that we are firing up into the right muscles here is as we lift, we don't get that bulge, sit-up muscles. So it should be that the belly stays flat here because everything is wrapped around the midline. If we find that we're getting that doming, that would be the rectus abdominis muscles, the six-pack muscles. And then we can soften into the belly and then do that breath to reset that muscle recruitment. Lovely. So from here, as we lift the shoulder blades away, we're going to tip the left ribs towards that right hip. And then coming back to center, right ribs towards the left hip. Lovely. So it's quite a small movement. That kind of squeezing together across, diagonally across. Lovely. Sneaky, very sneaky movement. It's tiny, tiny movement, hugely strong. Lovely. Do a few more on each side. Squeezing the ribs towards the hips. Lovely. And then coming down, there might be an urge to want to hug the knees in. Let's drop the knees to one side and then drop the knees to the other side. Lovely. Just gently shifting through, releasing across the midline. And then let's come to set up again. So soles of the feet onto the floor. Find that shift into the lower back. So lower back in contact with the mat and then far up into the midline. Breathing in, exhaling, slamming onto the abdominal wall, hands onto the shoulders. This time we're going to lift the right leg. Everything else stays fixed. Right foot comes to a tap and then coming up. Lovely. So very, very simple movement. It's very easy to do this without having the midline switched on, in which case it would kind of be like this. And can you see how that movement starts to let the whole of my body join in here? So my head, my shoulders, everything's joining in. So we're trying to do it with nothing else moving. So if you're finding it easy, then reset up. Lovely. And then the right leg comes up and the left leg comes to join. Lovely. Squeezing that midline. Left foot taps down and then up. Right foot taps down and then up. Now again, very easy to do this without having anything switched on. We're just kind of shifting into the hips. What we're trying to do is to get that movement without anything else moving. So as we shift the weight side to side, nothing else moves. Everything in the torso, in between the shoulders and the hips, stays fixed, even as we bring movement and different weights into the mix as well. Lovely. And then we can bring the hands onto the shoulders again, lift the shoulder blades away, As we bring that right foot down, we're going to twist the right ribs to the left hip and then back through center as the right leg comes back. Left foot taps down, twisting to the side. So exactly that same movement, we're just putting it together. Same movement as we've been doing with the ribs over to the side and then with the foot tapping down. Lovely. Really nice, guys. That's great. And the slower we go, the more that we start to really tune into those very specific muscles here. Let's do one more on each side. Lovely. Core of steel, guys. Lovely. Soles of the feet come down, knees out to the side, shifting through onto each side. Brilliant. You're doing so well. So from here, again, resetting up. So maybe placing the lower back onto the mat, firing up into the midline. We're going to bring both legs up, hands onto the shoulders. Straighten that right leg away and then coming back through center. Lovely. Straighten the left leg away and then coming back through center. So even as we're moving, even as we're shifting the weight from one side to the other, nothing else moves. Keep that awareness. And you can poke into the side ribs to double check this as well. Lovely. Really nice. And then from here, both arms coming above the head as we lift the shoulders away. Lovely. And we're going to start to bring one leg down and then lifting back through. Lovely. Really nice, guys. So notice what's happening to the jaw, to the forehead, and the thoughts. Any fiery little thoughts starting to creep in. Seeing if we can invite that idea of softening. Option to start to straighten both legs. And bear in mind that the lower they come, the stronger it is. So you can choose where you come to here. Lovely. Last one. Oh, and then soles of the feet onto the floor. Head comes down, rolling through the lower back. Really nice, guys. You're brilliant, mate. Shall we do one last little sneaky one? Shall we? Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to bring lower back onto the mat. So reset up. Find that softening into the belly and then slamming on the abdominal wall. Crossing the right ankle over the top of the left and bringing the legs above the hips. Lovely. Hands onto the shoulders here. And we're going to see if we can get the hips to lift. And sometimes it really is more of a psychological thing, kind of thinking about doing it. So the temptation is to use momentum here to lift the hips high through momentum. Let's see if we can squeeze to, even if it's just a tiny millimeter of a movement. Really good, guys. And if it's hard, you're doing it right. We're working against gravity, against so many different things here, but really stabilizing and strengthening into that midline. We're going to uncross the legs and bring the other ankle on top. So left ankle comes on top of the right. Again, firing up into the abdominal wall. And then just that fraction of a movement. So trying to lift the hips away, but obviously working against gravity, working against the line of the weight of the legs, and the legs are heavy. So it will just be a subtle little shift into the lower back and firing up as we do so into these fantastic muscles all the way around the midline. Lovely. Soles of the feet onto the floor, knees shift through side to side. Lovely. And there endeth the stability bit, guys. You nailed it. So from here, we're going to rock and roll, or roll to the side, of course, if there's any discomfort in the back. Lovely. So for some people, this really isn't comfortable. If they've got particularly sticky outy tailbone, for example, this would not be a nice movement to come into. So never assume, oh, I need to be doing that, but actually it's really uncomfortable. Lovely. And from here, we're going to make our way up to standing. Lovely. So we're going to make our way to the top of the mat if we're not there already, and start to lift the right leg. Right foot steps back, and we pivot out to the side, toes in, heels out. hands down. Let's twist to one side, so full body stretch side to side. Do one more on each side. Find that spiral rotation. And then heels in, knees out, finding our goddess squat, pulsing here, sneaky movement. Lovely. And we're coming down rather than sticking out. Lovely. From here, right toes to the top of the mat, left heel out, legs are straight. Reaching out, and then the right arm comes down, left arm comes up. Bending into that right knee, elbow onto the knee, left arm reaches over. Lovely. Pivoting on that back heel, hands onto the shoulders, left knee comes to a hover. Lovely. Using that strength in the back leg, fingertips reach forward, straight line from the fingertips to that back heel, hands into the chest, into prayer. Left elbow onto the right knee as we twist round. Left foot steps forwards, coming into chair, twisted chair. Breathing in, unhooking the elbows, right leg lifts, and then right foot comes down, coming into chair. Awesome. Let's move through that again. So lifting up, left leg lifts, left foot steps back, toes in, heels out as we fold. Let's spiral through the spine here as we twist through side to side. And then we can bring heels in, knees out as we pulse. Lovely, awesome guys, really good, really strong. So left toes to the top of the mat, right heel out, legs are straight as we reach forwards, and then hinging, really nice. Bending into that left knee, right arm reaches over. Back heel lifts, hands to the shoulders. Drop the back knee, coming to a hover. Lovely, firing up through that back leg to reach forwards. Hands into the chest, right elbow to the knee as we twist. Stepping that right foot forwards, lifting left leg. And left foot comes down as we come into chair. Awesome. Should we do one more sneaky little round of those? Yeah, let's do it. Let's keep moving. So right leg lifts, stepping back, toes in, heels out, fold. Twist to one side. Lovely, twist to the other. Doing really well. Heels in, knees bend, pulsing. Awesome. We're going to point the right toes to the top of the mat, left heel out. Straight leg, side reach, and then coming into our triangle. Lovely. Right knee bends, elbow to the knee, left arm reaches over. Really nice, guys. And then lift that back heel, facing towards the back of the mat now. Hands to the shoulders, left knee drops, come to a hover. Really nice. Pulse through the legs until we come into standing, reaching forwards. Hands into the chest, left elbow hooks onto the right knee as we twist. Left foot steps forwards to the top of the mat, coming into a twisted chair. Releasing the hook of the elbows as the right leg lifts, warrior three. Right foot comes down, coming into chair. Awesome, let's do one last one. Left leg lifts, left leg to the back of the mat. Heels out, toes in, fold. Spiraling side to side. And really feel that movement traveling all the way out the back of the body. Lovely, wringing out any tension. Heels in, knees bend. Our goddess. Awesome. This time left toes to the top of the mat, right heel out, straighten the legs, side reach. And then hinging to find our triangle. Awesome. Left knee bends, left elbow onto the knee, right arm over the side. Lift the back heel. Face the hips back towards the front of the mat, hands onto the shoulders, bringing that right knee to a hover. Lovely, really nice. And then pulsing forwards. Straight line from the fingertips to that back heel, hands into the chest. Right elbow to the left knee, twisting round. Right foot steps forwards, twisted chair. Breathing in to float that left leg up into our warrior three. Left foot comes down, arms parallel to the ears into our chair. Awesome, guys, really nice. Coming back up into standing. We're going to step that right foot back, not as far as we can, not kind of lungy, just stepping it back a little bit. Hands to the hips as we start to fold forwards. Lovely. We can bring right hand above the knee, left hand under the knee. So kind of framing the knee here. And we start to bend that left knee forwards and then straightening back. So we're edging onto that left hamstring here. Lovely. Next time the leg straightens, we're going to pause there and then turn that movement into the lower back. So we lift the tailbone and then flattening. Lifting the tailbone and then flattening. That subtle little shift into the pelvis. Lovely. Really nice. And then stepping forwards, we'll do the same on the other side. So right foot forwards, left foot steps back. Not as far as we can, just a little bit of a step back. Frame the knee with the hands. So one hand on top, one hand under. And then coming forwards and back. Forwards and back. Lovely. This time straightening the leg and send that movement into the lower back. Lift the tailbone and then flattening. Lovely, really nice. So what we're doing there is sending that movement into the top part of the hamstring. The hamstring attaches into the glutes. So sending that stretch much further up into the deeper part of the hamstring. Lovely. Stepping forwards, we're going to step both feet wide. So choose which leg you want to step back so you can see the screen. And the hands come down. Lovely. So the toes are slightly in, heels out. Hands in front of the face, rather than trying to bring the head down as close as we can. And we're going to lengthen up and then start to soften down. Breathing in to lengthen up, exhaling to soften down. Lengthening, so flat back and then release to gravity. Flat back and then release to gravity. Lovely. And then the next time that we come down, start to explore that shift in the weight. So maybe start to bring the weight forwards into the balls of the feet and then back into the heels. Into the balls of the feet as the tailbone starts to lift and then back into the heels. So again, we're tuning into the hamstrings here, getting a deep stretch into the back of the hamstrings. Lovely. And then from here, start to bring the toes slightly out. We're going to bend into that left knee and send the weight over to the left knee. We can use that left arm to encourage that left knee out to the side and then shift through to the other side. Lovely. So seeing if we can travel through slow and low. We can keep the hands down if we want to, or we can start to have the hands into the chest, or we can explore our silver surfer. Lovely. None of those options is any better or worse, just tuning into where you need to be. Lovely. And then we're going to bring that left knee down and then start to shift back and then forwards. So to begin with, we've got the outside edge of that right foot down rather than up. Edging forwards and then back. Lovely. So this is gliding across the muscles in the inner part of the thigh. Lovely. And then next time that we come back, heel comes up and then turning down. Heel coming up and then down. Lovely. So again, gliding. All of our muscles, none of them are in straight lines. So whenever we come into a kind of spiral movement, we start to access different muscle fibers rather than just kind of a straight line, because straight lines don't exist in the body. Lovely. We're going to make our way through to the right side. Bring the right knee down. Again, outer edge of that left foot down to begin with as we shift forwards and back. So to begin with, we're coaxing into the inner thigh and into the groin. Lovely. Next time that the sit bones come back, toes point up and then rolling back through. Lovely. Toes pointing up and then rolling back through. So again, we're shifting across the back of the hamstring into the inner part of the inner thigh. Lovely. Really nice, guys. And then from here, we're going to make our way back to the top of the mat and come down to lying on the belly. So lifting the right leg, sending the right toes further down the mat, lifting the left leg, left toes come further down the mat. And we're going to bring that left arm across the top of the mat and bring the right heel in towards the sit bone. So again, subtle little shift into the lower back. If we want to intensify this stretch here, we can flatten the lower back, point the tailbone down. We might start to feel the pubic bone coming more into contact with the ground. And that starts to intensify that stretch across the right thigh. Lovely. Pausing there, just allow the head to catch up with where the body's got to. And then the right forearm comes across the mat, left arm reaches back with the option to start to tuck the tailbone, flatten the lower back, pointing the hips into the ground to intensify the stretch across the left quad this time, the quads. Lovely. Again, no rush here, just allow that feedback loop to happen within your own body. And then we can start to gently release. We're going to make our way down to stillness. So you might want to get layers or blankets or anything to create a little bit more comfort. And take your time to nestle into the ground, to shift the body to find comfort. Just because you find yourself somewhere doesn't mean that that's where you need to stay. And we send the body into recovery. So literally the recover and repair, regenerate state away from the stress response. And a really good way of being able to support that natural response within the body is to slightly lengthen the out breath. So coming to stillness, close the eyes or soften the gaze. Choose the shape that you need to be in. Maybe take a breath in, a deep breath in, feel the front of the body lift and expand. And on the out breath, front of the body drops to meet the earth. Maybe one more breath like that, breathing in fully. And exhaling completely. Let the natural breath return to the body, natural ebb and flow. And scanning along the body, any areas that you know that you hold tension, inviting them to release. The forehead, the eyebrows, the jaw. Soften the tongue. Maybe swallow to release into the muscles in the throat. Notice the shoulders completely supported. And then traveling to the elbows, to the wrists, to the hands. Inviting them to release. Same with the back of the body, shoulder blades, ribs, mid-back, lower back. Completely supported by the ground. Hips are heavy. Knees, ankles, feet, release. And if you find that the mind starts to wander, knowing that that is completely natural, any time that you notice it, you can gently and persistently guide the awareness back to notice the next in-breath and the next out-breath, that amazing ebb and flow, always there to return to. Slowly bringing awareness back into the body, reconnecting the body with the mind with the body, bringing movement into the hands, the fingers, the arms, into the toes, the feet, the ankles and the legs. And if it feels comfortable, then maybe reaching the arms all the way above the head, full body stretch, and the tips of the fingers down into the toes. And then hugging the knees into the chest, gently massaging out the lower back as we shift the weight side to side. Before rolling to lie on the side, keeping the eyes closed or the gaze softened just for a short while longer. Using the hands to ease you back up into comfortable seated, whether that's cross-legged, kneeling, whatever shape that happens to be. Use that support from the ground to grow tall and long as the crown of the head lifts up towards the sky, and we can breathe into that space we've created in the middle, breathing in fully and breathing out, completely letting go of the breath. Breathing in fully and exhaling completely. Slowly blinking the eyes open, letting the light gently filter back in. I'm going to press stop on the recording.